Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't care about the Susie Wiles Vanity Fair story. Should I? If you think that I should care, please someone explain to me why. So Susie Wiles says that there's nothing wrong with her relationship with Donald Trump, that the White House is perfectly functional, that she's been taken out of context and it's been mischaracterized in the Vanity Fair article. I mean, I suppose that I'm mildly curious why Susie Wiles, the chief of staff of the White House, would trust that Vanity Fair is going to be fair with her whatsoever. But be that as it may, I don't really care about the story because it's just another attempt to attack the Trump administration in another way. The media is going to be dishonest about the efficacy of the Trump administration. They always have been dishonest when it comes to Donald J. Trump. They always will. They are constantly attempting to drive a wedge between Trump's most loyal supporters and him. And this is just another example of that. They're trying to sow discord and discontent and discombobulation and every other disword within the Trump administration as best they can do it. They've not seen a lot of that the second time around, certainly not as much as they did the first time around. Donald Trump did not know his way around Washington, D.C. very well the first time around, and so there were obviously some missteps in putting together his first administration. Hasn't happened in the second administration. And so the media goes about their business trying to pick off members of the administration. They try to find the weakest amongst those that he has assembled and pick them up. They've done this with Pete Hegseth, right? They thought Pete Hegseth, as the Secretary of War, was going to be the weakest among the group. And so they tried to pick him off. They've done this on 3 separate occasions, as a matter of fact, and they were unable to and has been unsuccessful in doing so. And so I suppose that Vanity Fair thought that they could do a hit piece on Donald Trump through Susie Wiles. They tried to do so. I've not read the piece. I don't really care to read the piece. I've read some of the highlights, and I don't care. I don't care if they think that what she said means that everybody's, she called him an alcoholic or said he was like an alcoholic. Oh, I had a dad who's an alcoholic. They're very big personalities. I understand how to work big personalities. So they spent 11 separate interview sessions cherry-picking what Susie Wiles had to tell them. She's obviously loyal to the president. She's his chief of staff and plans to remain so. If there's any takeaway from this article and this interview, an article that I admittedly have not read, it is why in the world you thought Vanity Fair was going to be fair in the first place. F-A-I-R. 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986 if you'd like to get in here on via telephone. Why is my TV not on anymore? I think I know why. Jackson.
I did not turn your TV off.
Mm-hmm. I need you laser focused, buddy. Laser focus. Wait, what is going on? 1, 3. Why does it just go? What is going on here? Oh, there we go. There. Did that change your channel in there, Jackson?
Nope.
It's unfortunate.
If you go to 11, there's a basketball game.
Laser focused on the radio.
Big game.
Show. What big game? I am the big game, buddy. I'm the big game. I'm the big game. You're a part of the big game. You're in the show.
I just poked myself in the eye by accident.
Hiccup boy. By the way, several have voted in sympathy for you and your hiccups. Several have gone against that. I mean, it's such an obvious ploy by you to gain sympathy votes. Several have pushed back against it. However, most have decided that they're just going to stay out of the fray and vote for Ken Weaver.
Yeah, it's a fair.
I suppose that's fair. I got an official vote for Ken. I got someone saying my vote is for Matt because I like his voice best, story or not.
That vote doesn't count. You didn't have a story.
I had a story about Burl Ives.
Did you find out why he was called Burl?
It was a name common. It was a name more common back in the 1890s and early 1900s.
Should know a lot about that.
Burl was never a super common name, but it had periods of decent popularity, especially in the United States of America from the 1880s to the 1930s, peaking in the 1920s with hundreds of births annually. It is linked to its Old English meaning. Would you care to guess, Jackson, what the word burl means in Old English?
Bigger fella?
It means cup-bearer or knotty wood. Though it's quite rare today, it's famous mainly because of musician and actor Burl Ives. The name evokes strength It's not a mainstream choice nowadays, with very few births recorded recently with the name Burl. Once again, cupbearer or knotty wood, as in of a tree. And yes, like Ken Weaver, I appreciate Burl Ives, not necessarily for his role in the travesty that is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but for his fine performance as Big Daddy in the feature film presentation of a play originally written by Tennessee Williams, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Mendacity all around me. And if anybody wants to do a new staging of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, I've long said that that's what would get me back on stage. I did many, many different stage performances, and I've long said that I would love to play Big Daddy in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
What about Cat Williams?
This is a cultural conversation, Jackson, and I would just caution you if you walk into the room that there's culture going on right now. And you might not be quite aware of
you're right. The Vols are building the championship culture.
Mm-hmm. Jerry is next up. Jerry, thank you for your patience. I appreciate you. I'm sorry you had to wait so long. What's going on in your world, Jerry?
Yep.
Hey, Jerry. See, Jerry had to hold so long that he put us on the speakerphone, and now I bet he's washing dishes. He probably had dinner, and he's got to get back to the phone now.
What do you think he had for dinner?
Salisbury steak.
Mashed taters?
Mashed potatoes. Well, you got to have mashed potatoes with Salisbury steak, right? Green beans on the side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe a little cornbread?
Might be Brussels sprouts instead of green beans, but definitely a green in there. And, yeah, I would think, I've never been a cornbread fan, but if I had some Salisbury steak on me, I'd probably have some cornbread, too.
You think some sweet tea or a cold beer?
Jerry doesn't strike me as a cold beer kind of guy. I'm going to go hot tea. I'm going to go off the reservation.
That's weird.
That's weird. I know, but look, Jerry's a pretty weird guy. Hey, Jerry, we've had all the fun we can have. We got to get you on the radio or I've got to hang up on you. Jerry.
Yo. Right here.
Hey, Jerry.
Right here.
What's up?
Hey, boss. I've got a great idea.
Hey, Jerry, I got a question before you give me your idea.
Go ahead, boss.
Have you already had dinner?
No. I'm at Maggiano's delivering their supplies.
Okay. So you've not – have you in your lifetime ever enjoyed a delicious Salisbury steak?
Of course I have.
Okay. Well, good. I like the way you talk. If you had a choice of beverage tonight, what would it be?
Probably have to be something domestic, ultra.
Okay. You're my kind of people, Jerry. What's on your mind?
Well, I had a brainstorm. Tell me what you think about this. Let's get all our Muslim brothers and sisters and the Somali brothers and sisters that we have helped so much and just send them all to California and give it to them, along with most of the people that are out there. I think they would really get along well, and I think it would be a good thing to do. And we can go on about our business as being the best country in the entire world.
Well, I don't engage in, the send them back mentality if they're here legally. But what we do need to do is go through these communities, Jerry, and we need to make sure that the people that are here, I can't necessarily go for a loyalty test, but my goodness, if you are not here legally and you're from another country, Somalia or otherwise, you need to get the hell out of here. And you need to apply because sadly, what we've done, we've created. And Jerry brings up an excellent point. And enjoy your meal tonight, Jerry. Thank you. And I'm sorry you had to hold so long. I've told you the story of how I got my first car. My first car, easy. I see you there. Don't do it.
Was a Model T fresh off the assembly line.
It's so easy.
At the young age of 43 years old.
Predictable. My first automobile was a 1980 Chevrolet Monza, which I got in 1988 or 80. Yeah, 1988. That was about right. 15. And it was a beater. Now, for those unfamiliar with the Chevrolet Monza, it was kind of Chevrolet's version of the Pinto. Mine was a hatchback. It was a junker, and I loved it. Loved that vehicle, drove it all through high school, and drove it my first year of college before it blew up, and I had to park it on the side of the road, and when my grandpa and I went back to get it, it was gone, missing, and we never saw it again. It literally was stolen off the side of the road. But I needed a new car anyway. So my grandfather was not a man of means, middle class, really lower middle class. He was a mechanic, a self-employed mechanic at that time, and he earned every dollar that he pinched. And he was raising 3 grandchildren and paying off medical bills that he never anticipated. Medical bills from my mother, of course, and grandchildren, my brother, my sister, and myself. Well, by the time I got to the age where I was thinking about driving, I was already driving my mom's car around quite a bit, but I wanted my own vehicle. And my grandfather knew a guy that had this 1980 Chevrolet Monza, which had a blown-up engine in it, and the transmission was janky. And my grandfather asked the man what he wanted for the car. He wanted $400 for the vehicle. And he told me that if I raised the $400 and bought the vehicle, that he would pay for the parts to rebuild the engine, to rebuild the transmission, and we would do that together, which we did. I tried to convince him to drop an 8-cylinder engine in the front end of that thing because Chevrolet Monzas would fit the engine compartment would fit an 8-cylinder, although it had a 151 cubic centimeter. Yeah, cc, 151 cc 4-cylinder in it. But he didn't go for that. I will never forget, we were at Danny Pilgrim's garage, and Danny had an 8-cylinder, a V8 engine that he could have dropped, engine and transmission that could have dropped into that Chevrolet Monza. And I'd almost convinced my grandpa to do it. And Danny started talking to my grandpa about how fast they would run and how you could snatch the rear end out of them. And Danny Pilgrim screwed up my ability to have an 8-cylinder in there. But it probably saved my life, frankly, because I would have been a bad boy in that car. As it stood, we rebuilt the 4-cylinder engine. I valued that car more than most every other student in high school valued their vehicles. I didn't know it at the time, but I did because I worked for it. I raised the money for it. My grandpa helped me rebuild it. We did so. He capped it off by putting he drilled out an 8-ball, and I had an 8-ball gear shift in that Chevrolet Monza, which I cherished and adored. Bottom line is this. When you work for something in life, you value it more. It's just human psychology. When things are handed to you, I mean, this is not to say that you cannot be handed things and understand the value of those things that are given to you. If you have good home training, you'll inherently understand the value of things. But it is much easier to understand their value when you have worked for them. I watched in my high school, in my junior and senior year of high school, young people who were given Mustangs and, used BMWs by their parents, and they just trashed those cars and did not seem to value them whatsoever because they did not work for them. They did not earn the money to spend the money, and they were not on the hook for the upkeep of the vehicle to begin with. Translate this to our immigration policy. For far too long, not just during the Biden years. I mean, it was suspended during the Trump first term, but even before then, during the 8 years of Barack Obama, during George W. Bush, we didn't do anything about immigration. We didn't do anything about illegal immigration. We allowed it to happen. And now, even legally, you have a lot of people in the United States of America that don't value this country. They came here for a better life. They came here for a better way. And now they trash the place. Why? Because they didn't work for it. Not all of them. Some of them did. And I love those immigrants that did. I love you immigrants that did work for your station in the United States of America and have a respect for America's station around the globe. But a lot of the people that were just allowed in here through whatever means that they were, through this mass asylum process, allowing the Somali people, good example. Unfortunately, collectively, I'm not talking individually because I don't know them individually, but collectively, they don't seem to have any value for what the United States of America stands for. They want to transform it into their own country that has their own sets of values. And we allowed that to happen. Unfortunately, it happened under our very noses. All the while, we're talking about what we can do for this or that, or, how we ought to take care of the least of these. We weren't taking care of our own. Well, all of that's stopping. The Democrats allowed it to happen because the Democrats want the votes. The Republicans allowed it to happen because the Chamber of Commerce wanted the cheap labor. Y'all know I'm telling you the truth. Well, now, thankfully, in a movement created by and reinforced by our man in the White House, Donald J. Trump, we have had, as my grandpa used to say, a belly full of it. And it's time for us to get back to American values. And you don't have to be from here to have them. And most of my legal immigrant friends that I know and love, they have better American values than a hell of a lot of Americans who were born here. Because they understand how much worse it could be. Even as bad as we got it, it could be a hell of a lot worse. But to the caller's point, we need to create an immigration system that instills the value of being a part of this nation within and embedded inside of the system. And I can't help those that came through that are now here legally that did not have that ingrained inside of them. Just like I can't help the young people that were handed automobiles that just trashed them. And now to this very day, they trash the things that they have because they don't understand the inherent value of working for and earning what they enjoy. I can't help those immigrants that came here legally that did not have to earn it. But we can, moving forward, insist that those that come here share our values, that understand our love of liberty and freedom, that understand that you're allowed to live a life of your own choosing, but you are not allowed to demand of others that they alter their lives for your comfort or for your sensitivity or for your offense. I don't mind immigration, so long as those that are immigrating, whether it be immigrating from California to Tennessee or immigrating from some far-off part of the world to the United States of America, just understand that you're leaving something behind when you leave behind that place which you no longer wish to be. And you're coming to a place that you claim to wish to be for a reason. Let's try not to alter that reason. It is 24 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I know what you're doing. You're trying to make me feel better, Jackson, and it's working. It's working. I'm getting more in the holiday spirit. I will admit it. I hope you and yours have a very holly jolly Christmas. We've got plenty of time to go before we'll call it a Christmas holiday season. Matter of fact, I'm working right up to 7 o'clock on New Year's Eve. 7 o'clock on New Year's Eve. That is my
Christmas
dedication. Eve? Did I say New Year's Eve?
Yes.
7 o'clock. Is it 7 o'clock yet? 7 o'clock on Christmas Eve. Thank you, Jackson.
Our last show for the year altogether is a week from today.
How is it that the producer of the show figured out a way to get Christmas Eve off and the host did not?
Because I found somebody to get my time in here and you didn't. You tried.
Yeah, it's probably. Well, and actually it works out because I thought about taking Christmas Eve off, but
you
now,
told me you were taking Christmas Eve off, and so I took it off.
Well, but I thought that we had to work on the 26th, and then we didn't have to work on the 26th, so that became a thing, and now we're not working. We're not working plenty, okay?
We are not working plenty.
I mean, that's fair, right? And then when we come back on January 5th.
Yep.
So Christmas Eve last show until January 5th. Cameron will be in for the week between Christmas and New Year's. And then And then we have a best of in there like the day after New Year's Day, the 2nd, which was a company holiday. And I was planning on working that day, and I'm not. However, I'm also not working on January 7th.
That's your move day.
That's my move. That's the closing of the house. So that's a big move day. Got to figure that out. Although I will not actually be moving furniture that day. You don't know how long those things are going to go. Lawyers are involved. They get paid by the hour. You know how it goes. Anyway, that's a little signposting as to what to expect during the holidays. CJ is next, wants to talk about choice lanes. Hey, CJ.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great, CJ. Hope you are.
I'm much better. I'm a California refugee, so my life has improved radically.
I bet it has.
And, I wanted to talk about what we used to refer to as the Lexus lanes back in the People's Republic of California. I'm just wondering whether we're reading the fine print as closely as we ought to on these. At first it kind of came in the same way. I remember probably 20 years ago, we're going to add more lanes and you're going to love it. You have all the infrastructure you've got right now and you need some more, but, you won't have to pay for it because these private companies will do it for you. And they bring in a lane and another lane, but then nobody's adding the traditional infrastructure on any of those, interstates. And then when the state decides it's time to actually add some infrastructure, that's when the private company says, well, we got it in our fine print that you're not allowed to add anymore. That will reduce our profitability of our lanes. And suddenly you're kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place. You can't buy yourself out of the contract, and the public is renting, our highways. So I don't know if we're talking about that as much as we ought to.
Well, I remember at the time that it was debated and passed, I read up on the legislation. I actually had the legislation sitting in front of me, and there were several. They had placed within the legislation several out clauses and I don't have the fine print in front of me, so I can't speak specifically to what you're talking about, CJ, but I remember as you speak that there were out clauses so the state could get out if the public-private partnership was not working. Now, I can't remember what those particular details were. But, no, I mean, it's a good point that you're making is obviously it's the state's job to protect the public against private entities taking over our public roadways.
Yeah, I guess that's really my concern is just I understand. It's not like I don't want FedEx to exist and want everything to be the post office, but at the same time, I don't want FedEx to be making it so we don't have a post office anymore, I guess. And anytime I see Tennessee following what California's been doing, it makes me inherently nervous.
Well, roadways are a little bit different than other aspects of the free market in as much as, you can only have so many of them. And so you are limited in allowing free market capitalism to take over and do what it would do. Normally, in a circumstance like this, I would say, well, let the free market take care of it. Because the free market will, without government interference, take care of it better than it would with government interference. But much like electricity, much like water, there are only so many feeds that you can bring into a community, and roads are the same way. And so developing these public-private partnerships are a next best thing, especially if you're dealing with traffic congestion and traffic flow. But you're right. I mean, there have to be fail-safes to protect the consumers here because these companies understand, especially after they lay out the money, that they've got the monopoly and there's only so much, property that you can take to build more roads.
Well, and I think another analogy that would be, I'm looking at, I got a family member in Columbia who gets their internet for, I think, $35 a month from Columbia Power, and everybody else on AT&T and whoever else it's $150. And, it's interesting what sometimes the private market will do to consumers once they get that monopoly position. So I don't know if we're doing the right thing here. I just thought I'd call in.
As I understand it, and maybe you understand it as well, I mean, the idea is you got 4 lanes, let's say, for example, coming into Nashville. And a private entity, we're going to allow a private entity to build at their cost a 5th lane that doesn't currently exist, and then they're going to charge a certain amount of money for the right to drive on that 5th lane. The other 4 lanes will remain, obviously, open to the public without charge. And the concept being that if, 10% of the drivers are willing to pay that extra money and go to that fifth lane, then that's going to unclog the roadways in the other four. I guess what you're saying is what happens if all of that clogs up down the road, if you don't have an out and the private entity prevents other possible ways to alleviate the traffic flow.
There were definitely, there were reports, there were situations where this literally happened in California where, you got 4 lanes and our fifth lane is again, I always like calling them Lexus lanes because, people who could afford it.
Mm-hmm.
But now the state says, okay, well, it's 10 years later, there's been enough growth of the population in the area that in addition to the 4 that we own and the 5 that we're, the fifth one we're renting from you, we just want a fifth of our own. Yours will be, the sixth one.
Mm-hmm.
And the company come back and say, well, that's a violation of our agreement. You're not allowed to add more infrastructure. We're going to take you to court, and the state lost. Because
I don't know specifically. I know it makes a good point. I don't remember specifically what the language is. I feel like, and I can't speak directly to it, but I feel like that would have been a flag for me.
I hope we have learned from some of these other experiments. I would say I'm not sure what satisfaction levels were in California, but I remember a lot of people talking badly about that experience. So.
Well, I know that through the legislative process, one of their goals was not to incur a tremendous amount of debt, having to borrow money against these projects, and this was one of the ways to alleviate that. So I think that's a positive on the positive side, because I do think. Go ahead.
I like to save money.
Yeah, I mean, I think private entity, they're going to keep the cost dynamic lower because they're incentivized to do so. It's going to make more money that way because I do know that there are caps in the amount of money that they're allowed to charge individuals once these things get up and running.
I mean, I'm a big fan of free market capitalism, but at the same time, I'm very nervous that anything might become a monopoly or have a different level of control where it's not an even playing field. And, there's no free lunch, I guess.
No, I mean, I like the way you're thinking because you are exactly on point that the person building or the entity that's building this road, their interest is not to help people, right?
Well,
their interest is to make money. And
not to get too conspiratorial or anything, but I would be curious who's funding it. I mean, I know that there have been foreign investors in some of these projects around the country, and now we're not only renting our roads, we're renting them from somebody who doesn't even live in the United States. I mean, at least if we're going to make somebody a whole lot of money, I hope we're making an American a lot of money, not somebody else.
You reminded me of. I rode in an Uber. One of the first Uber rides I ever had. This is like in 2016, right? We're in Dallas. And my radio partner and myself went out there for a project that we were doing on radio. And we had to get an Uber from like our hotel to the airport or something. And it was like I said, we had taken cabs. And I guess maybe I'm late to the game, maybe I'm not, but it was the first Uber I recall being in. And this guy was a nut. His name was Bruce. And we thought we were going to get killed and end up, in a trunk full of feet or something. And he kept talking about the Saudi Arabians owning part of the road in Texas.
Huh.
And he specifically that the Saudi Arabians owned the exit ramps. And I thought he was an absolute nut job, CJ, just a nut job. Well, I went back and I did some research, and he was kind of right. I mean, wow. Now there were some fail-safes involved in that, but there were some Saudi Arabian investors that were involved in creating exit ramps for the interstate system, and they had technically ownership and control over them. Now, he was convinced that at some point they were going to shut it all down. But the point remains is that, you want to make sure that you know who owns these properties and who's getting the money from them.
I mean, there's always that saying of the future is you will rent everything and you will love it, which I don't agree with. It's like we got a society, we got a lot of people who are trying to figure out how to make sure the rest of us are paying them something every month or every trip, I guess now. So I'm just I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't want to Grinch on your Christmas here, but I don't.
No. But I'd be curious, just as we wind the conversation. I think this is a good and productive conversation. So, are you on the fence on choice lanes, or have you decided that this is probably not a good idea, especially considering your background from out in California?
Yeah, I would be against it until somebody shows me what's our escape clause as a state. You know, what's our buyout? At what point can we say we don't like this deal anymore? We're buying our lanes back. I want to know what it costs me to buy our lanes back. If there's no answer to that question, I think we have a problem. If there's $1 and there's a certain number of millions, and I know it's a big number, but at the same time, you know, somewhere out there, it is all about the transaction. You know, if there's a number.
Well, I'll need to refresh. You know what I will do, considering that, you know, it's been a few years since this was decided and they're still very much in the planning stages of getting this done. I'll do some due diligence and try to come back and report back to you. If not tomorrow, then later on in the week, CJ, because I'm curious to get the answers to these questions myself.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, take care. There's CJ joining us on the issue of choice lanes. Now, obviously, you have to have some sort of out clause to protect the people. One would think that and I feel like, you know, I don't claim that I catch it all, but I feel like that would be a flag for us. Matt, I had a 1977 Chevrolet Monza, and my dad and I did put a 327 cubic inch Chevy V8 in that vehicle. The manual transmission held up okay, but you are correct. It did blow out the rear end. I told you it would. Well, no, I didn't tell you. Danny Pilgrim told my grandpa. And so I didn't get to have the 327 cubic inch V8 engine. I had to have the puny 151 cubic inch 4-cylinder. The super texter writes, we had the machine. We had the machine a new rear axle out of a Chevy Nova. Well, you know, there you go. 50 after the hour. Super Talk. Nah! I don't know. Every time I hear that bumper, I always want to do that. Nah! It's a Tuesday edition of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Why does it feel like Thursday?
I don't know, bud.
Do you feel that, though? Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it?
Do you feel it, Mr. Krabs?
Oh, is that you want to go to see the SpongeBob movie together?
No.
Why not?
Only SpongeBob movie I saw was the original.
There's a new one out.
Oh, there's a new one?
Looks pretty funny. I thought we'd go together. I guess not. Well, the hell with you then. I'll go on my lonesome. Go all by myself.
Tuesday's a good night to go see the movies.
Well, that's probably true. And when's the last time you went to the movies?
Probably 3-4 months ago.
What'd you say? You remember?
Ooh, that's a good question.
The last movie that I saw in the theater, E and I went to see Oppenheimer together.
I try to make it 3 to 4 times a year.
You know what the movie theater's becoming like the opera or the symphony. You know what I mean? It's becoming more of an event thing.
Nah, I just like the popcorn.
Well, I mean, I dig the popcorn. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love it. Do you do the butter layer?
Oh, yeah.
Layer that damn butter. Come on. Don't come at me with a thing full of popcorn and then throw it on the top. I want, what? This much popcorn, some butter, this much popcorn, some butter, and then butter on the top. Thank you. I want you to fill that bucket halfway full of butter and then put popcorn in there. Thanks. And I know it's not butter. It is some sort of cancer-giving substance that I love.
Have you ever put peanut M&Ms in your popcorn?
I have not.
A tasty treat.
So that's going to make it even more delicious?
Yes, and probably more cancer-inducing.
I do know that I know people, not in Nashville, but I've known people in Birmingham. A couple of friends of mine, one in particular, would go to the movie theater just to get the popcorn. You know anybody that does that?
Yes.
They will go to the theater, say, no, I don't want to go see a movie. I'm just here to get the popcorn. They'll sell them the popcorn. They leave.
And then go home and watch a movie.
And then they go home and watch a movie for, I guess it's not that much of a value because the popcorn's like $11.
It's delicious, though.
It is. And I don't so much blame the movie theater, because the movie theater, that's how they stay in existence. And there are far fewer people going to the films because, my goodness gracious, why would I? I got a 78-inch screen or whatever the hell it is at my house.
Some of the movie theaters do like $7 Tuesdays.
Yeah, they're trying to, they want to encourage people to get on back.
That's the day I go to the movie theater.
I guess the last thing I saw at the theater was, we saw Oppenheimer, but I saw late night. I went by myself to a midnight showing of Late Night with the Devil.
That's a great movie, and I bet it was awesome in theaters.
Dude, it was.
Because you gave me that for Halloween this year.
I did.
I loved it.
By the way, I've not given you my review of Bad Santa yet.
What was your thoughts?
My thoughts on Bad Santa, I'll let you know tomorrow. We're out of time, so I watch it tonight.
You still haven't watched it?
So, I think this is kind of in the spirit of the film, right? Isn't the whole concept is that Billy Bob Thornton is just a ne'er-do-well that won't do what he promises to do and is, generally speaking, a jackass?
Yes.
Well, then there you go. This is kind of in the spirit of the movie.
Life imitates art.
I'm gonna do it. I'm watching it tonight, and I'll report back tomorrow. Wednesday edition tomorrow, the Matt Murphy Show. Hey, big inspection tomorrow. Y'all wish me luck. House, 1960, being inspected. If it passes, we buy it. If it fails, we don't. More to come. Here comes Mark Levin. Until next time, friends, have a great evening. Stay warm.